Oh,
Welcome to the Wellness Creator Podcast. In today's episode, we are going to talk about fake clothes, fake tarot card readers, and fake doctors. It is the first installment of our variety show.
woo! Yes, I love it, Jenny. We've been talking about this for a long time, and I think this kind of variety show concept will help us because we always have little stories to talk about. So we're just going to combine them into some episodes where there's multiple topics instead of diving deep into one.
Yeah.
Okay, fake clothes. This is all you, Jenny. Tell me
Okay.
about fake
All right.
plastic clothes.
I feel like this has come up on our various podcasts before, but I have a giant pet peeve with the wellness industry. One of my biggest problems, which I know is shared by some of our listeners, is just the amount of plastic clothing that is like kind of predominantly what is worn in the industry. So when we talk about yoga pants or tank tops or sports bras or whatever, it's plastic. And not only are there now proven and documented negative health impacts of wearing this stuff, especially when you're sweating and exercising, it's absolutely atrocious for the environment and for humans, really, future generations of people, children. And I just think that it's something that we should call out. I am not a fan of call out culture, but in this case, like, I think that this is a terrible thing that we're doing to the world and to ourselves.
So all those companies that will say like made from 10 recycled plastic water
Mhm.
bottles, that's the kind of stuff that you're talking
Yeah,
about.
but also just the ones that are made from petroleum itself.
Oh,
Yes.
like not
Yes,
not
just
recycled, but
not even just recycled. No, just plastic. And
yeah,
so I have some facts. I brought some facts to the podcast
to
today,
the variety show.
to the variety show, because this is so funny. I promise it gets better after this, but we've got to start with the doom and gloom, get it out of the way.
Yeah.
So, studies have shown like this fact alone should shock you into like getting rid of your freaking plastic yoga pants. 700,000 microfibers can be released in a single load of laundry when you have plastic clothing. Like it's disgusting. And I am like a canary in the coal mine. I'm the canary. I'm just going to start wearing a pin with a big canary on it. When I go out on a walk in a suburban neighborhood and I can like smell all the dryer sheets and I just know that there's like little microplastics floating out of the people's vents in their houses, like into my lungs. It's so awful. And I don't know, we have somehow sensitized ourselves like culturally to think that this is what clean smells like. It's not. It's like literally poisoning you. And, you know, we all have, I think it's like a credit card size amount of plastic in our bodies. Like it's just so freaking bad.
Hold on. Let me make sure I understand
Yeah.
what you're saying. So if we wash our clothes in the water, the agitation, that's going to release the 700,000
It might
microfibers.
be the dryer. I don't
Okay, because
know.
the venting of the dryer is
Yeah.
totally different than
I think it might be the dryer. So I guess but if you put it in, if you put your clothes in the wash, it's going into the water supply, right?
right,
And
right.
so one of the other things I wanted to talk about is how our water treatment plants currently do not filter all of this out of our drinking water. So it like goes back in, it goes into the river, it goes into the bay, it goes into wherever your water goes. Like these things are so tiny, tiny little things that you can't see, that like you could look at a glass of water and not know that it's in there, right? And so I think
Mhm,
that this is just, I
mhm.
mean, if you think about like 50 years ago, 100 years ago, people were not by and large wearing plastic clothing. And I mean, so there's all the environmental effects, which I can go on and on about, but really like I also want to talk about like the hormonal effects. There's now evidence that the plastics in these clothing, especially when you're sweating in them, like the
And they're
chemicals in the
tight
plastic
to
get
you.
into your body, and they're, you know, endocrine disruptors, hormone disruptors, like God knows what they're doing in your blood and your lymphatic system. Like I just think it is um something that everyone listening to this should think about. And it doesn't mean that I don't ever wear anything with like spandex or nylon in it. It's very, very hard to operate in the world with nothing that, you know, if you need something that fits tight, like the waistband of your underwear or whatever,
Mhm.
like it's very, very hard to find clothing that doesn't have these things now. But I just think like when we're talking about the wellness industry and athleisure clothing, which is
Mhm.
what many folks in our community live in all day, every day, it really warrants a deeper investigation and conversation.
Mhm.
And if you find yourself suffering from like chronic health problems, like I wouldn't write off the clothing that you're wearing.
So it's like, don't microwave your food in plastic or store your food in plastic, right? It's the same
Mhm.
kind of reasoning,
Mhm.
those sort of
Yes.
phytoestrogens that come
Yes. Yes.
or from the plastic that are released right into
Yes.
the food. It's the same concept, but it's like
Yes.
the shoes,
The
the
clothes.
clothes you're wearing on your body
Yes.
close to you in heat and when you're sweating. So the
Yes.
materials, if people were to look at reach into their closet, it would be nylon, it would be polyester and acrylic.
Yes.
That is the
Whatever your
problem.
yoga pants are made out of, that's what
Pretty
it
much
is.
like pretty much everything you're wearing right now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I do also think like this is one of those, this is kind of my critique of even working in this industry is that the biggest companies and brands in our
Yeah.
industry are the clothing manufacturers that are producing this plastic clothing. And like that is what is, like I understand aesthetics and I understand that you want a certain look and you want like the feel of like doing a yoga class wearing those clothes and they feel good, like it feels nice. You've trained yourself, like the society has trained you to think that having poison glued to your body feels nice. Like it's really really toxic. And so we're not naming any brands at all. There are plenty of both American and Canadian companies, and I'm sure others as well,
Canadian,
that we
emphasis on the
could
Canadian. Mhm.
yes, and a very prominent Canadian company, but also some very big American companies. And like I don't we don't want to get sued by anybody. They're going to argue with this evidence, but I mean, do your research and I would just say like use your common sense. Like wearing plastic all the time or when you're sweating is probably not a good idea. That's
Yeah.
all.
Okay. So solution, what are the
Yeah, so
alternatives?
part of the reason that we wanted to add this segment to the variety show is because like I've come across some brands and done some research and tried out a lot over the years, and
Mm,
most natural fiber brands are terrible for especially for exercising. Um but I have a few suggestions that I'm pretty excited about that I've tested over the last couple of years. So the first one, you've probably heard of all of these if you spend time on social media because they're probably targeting you with their ads. But the first one is Packed, and they make like natural fiber, predominantly organic clothing. Even when they send you the clothes, the packages in the mail, like they're packaged in like paper bags. Each item, it's not plastic. And the clothing itself is quite nice. Like their leggings are good. They're mostly cotton. They're organic. The prices I found are reasonable. Like there's varying degree of like quality, I would say, but I like their leggings fine, and like their basic underwear and like socks and things like that seem great. And I've been using them for a few years now, like I think 2 or 3 years. So I just want to throw that out there that
mm.
they seem to last very well. I have tried their version of a sports bra. It's hard to wear like a natural fiber when you're sweating, right? It feels kind of awful because you get cold, but
Mhm.
it works. It does the job. So I think you've got to just sort of like weigh the benefits.
Mhm.
We also have talked previously about that company ARQ, Sandy, ARQ, and they make bras and underwear. And so if you are in a situation where you're not going to be sweating a great deal, like I think that that's a lovely like cotton brand to wear. Like bralettes are great if you just don't need more support. For people who are looking for a little bit more support for athletic clothes and for bras and underwear in particular, I have tested out Bronwyn, Branwyn, and they're mostly merino wool. So obviously, if you have a wool sensitivity, this would not be a good fit. But I have kind of fallen in love with this brand. It is pricey, shockingly pricey, I would say. It feels like, I don't know, 70 something dollars for a single tank top. It's expensive. And they also make joggers and they make leggings, they make like a hoodie. And the bras are fantastic. The underwear is fantastic. So if you are looking for something that supports you and that you can sweat in, camping, hiking, exercising, big fan. And I have spent way more money at this brand than I ever expected to spend
Okay.
because I keep reordering. So that is a testament, I would say.
Okay. So couple points.
Yeah.
Packed, wherepacked.com is the website for Packed. It does
Yeah.
ship to Canada, up here and all the other countries outside of US. I mean, there's exchange rate and duties, and it's insane to
Yeah.
order from these sites. So I think it's like, and also there's tariff war. So you've really got to make the decision, like, what are
Yeah.
you prioritizing,
Yeah.
because a lot of Canadians right now at the time of recording are refusing to buy anything America due to the tariffs.
Yeah.
Um, Also ARQ, shop
Mhm.
ARQ is done,
Oh,
gone.
is it all done?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that doesn't surprise me, actually. I should have checked before I said anything because it's been a
Yeah.
while since I've ordered from them.
Yeah, and then I haven't been able. Bronwyn will ship outside of the U.S., so that is again, it's sort of the same decision
Yeah,
whether
and
you.
it's very expensive, even in the US, I would say.
Yeah.
It's pretty expensive. It looks like some of their stuff is on sale, final sale. So I don't know, but I think they're really like a bra and underwear company, and then I think they've kind of played around with some
Hmm.
of these other athleisure, like leggings and joggers and stuff like that. I have found the quality to be like phenomenal with that
Yeah.
brand, like more like really high quality, washes and wears very well. So, I mean, I don't know. I am increasingly a fan of like using merino wool for
Hmm.
athletic clothing
Hmm.
because it like offers a lot of kind of the same benefits of these like this plastic athleisure, but with with a much more the primary material is natural. Obviously,
Hmm.
again, some people have wool sensitivities, but I will just say like I honeymooned in 2009 in New Zealand, and that's when I got my first kind of merino wool athleisure wear because obviously wool in New Zealand is a big industry, and I loved it. So if you're, in other parts of the world, look for local
Yeah.
companies that are doing this. And yeah, I don't
Yeah, I
remember the
would I would
names.
love to do a little crowdsourcing
Yeah.
here because
Yeah.
we obviously we have listeners all over the world. So pop over to YouTube and just like if you know of some really good
Yeah.
athletic or athleisure brands in your country, like
Yeah.
let's just pop them
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Because it's obviously it's hard to keep track of and we can't
Yeah.
look at every country, but that would be really, really fun and really interesting to watch.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the third one I just wanted to mention is newer to me, so I don't have a lot of experience on how this washes and wears, but I did want to find something that had like a little bit less expensive for like tank tops and things for working out.
Yeah.
And Jung Maven or Jung Maven or Young Maven, Jungmaven. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say that word. They're based out of California, I think, and they are mostly like hemp-based clothing. I've been pretty happy with I actually ordered stuff. It's also very expensive, not quite as expensive as the last option. And so I think I ordered four things from them and I expected to like return two and just, pick the two I liked or return all of it. I ended up like keeping everything because it's very, very well made. And I can tell it's like these are pieces I'm gonna wear all the time. So I'm a person that is willing to wear the same clothes all the time. And in fact, I ordered like two copies of the exact same tank top. Like I'll order the same things and just wear the exact same dress or shirt or whatever multiple days in a row. So for me, I like to exercise. I sweat. I have a sauna. So I like to have things I can wear for those activities. And I'm okay wearing the same thing over and over. So I'd rather have like something that I can trust and rely on and just like wash it and wear it every day.
This is expensive.
It is expensive. It's expensive, but I mean, you know, they
Yeah, it's a
also have
decision. You gotta
this
make the decision.
company
Yeah.
does have an interesting the Jung Maven has like at least when I checked a resale site that's attached in their menu of their website so people can resell like it's some sort of cool marketplace app that they've used.
That's great.
And so people, when they're done with it or if it ended up not working for them, they can sell it. And that stuff's
Hmm.
pretty, it's like probably half off of what they can pick
Hmm.
the price, I think. So it's like much less expensive for a slightly used version of those clothes, whatever, if you can find something in your size that you're looking for. Um, but yeah, like look on Poshmark, like look on used clothing sites, ThredUp, places like that for brands once you find a brand that you really like. And I also think that this is a bit of a call to action, Sandy, for like, I don't know, we're entrepreneurs. Like in another
Yeah.
time and era, like I would have wanted to go make a company like this. If you're listening to this and you're passionate about fashion and I mean, you can go make the thing, right? Like I just think we rely on fast fashion and these big athleisure brands so much. And like I know you're looking at these prices and balking at them, but like honestly, go to Lululemon and look at how much a pair of leggings costs there, right? Like
No, I
so
get it. It's just with the exchange rate,
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's
I
crazy.
personally, it's a
Yes.
$78 t-shirt US
Yes.
that would bring
Yes.
it like
Yes.
$140. I
Yes.
don't even know,
Fair enough.
$140 plus duty. It would be
Yeah.
like $150,
Yeah.
$60 t-shirt. Like I wouldn't,
Yep.
even though I love the reasoning behind it. So I would
Yeah.
look for Canada versions
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
that. Like,
Buy
I
your
don't know. I know.
$72 Canadian tank top
Yeah.
if you can find it. I mean, and this is like really a call to action to, again, for people listening.
Somebody,
There
yeah.
is a need in the market for this stuff. Like, it's
Hmm.
not easy to be an entrepreneur. I get it. But I mean, this is how things start to shift when you make something that's like really special and,
Yeah.
isn't made out of garbage. Like, you
Yeah.
have an opportunity to grow it into a
Literally.
world-class
Yeah.
brand.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's
Yeah. No,
such
I
a
think it's
need.
great. I think it's
Yeah.
great. Okay,
So
let's move on to our second story of the variety show, which is
we
fake.
need a sound effect to end. Sandy, it's a variety show.
Coming.
Fantastic.
Okay, so the second story in the variety show is fake tarot card readers on Instagram. Tell us the story.
So I was reading kind of like an industry rag the other night, and I called the Platformer, and I came across this story of these. It was like this ethical profile of these guys that closed down their company because they realized there were some like real problems that were showing up, and what they had built, they're like AI code monkey dudes, and they were building all kinds of stuff. And the thing that took off was a literal AI tarot card reader. And I guess that these things have taken off. Like, there's multiple examples of these things that are shown in at least the graphic for this story. If you go on Instagram, I guess these accounts grow from nothing to like hundreds of thousands or millions of followers very quickly. And people are building AI powered like fortune tellers or tarot card readers or astrologers
That talk to you in the DMs.
that talk
In your
to you in the
DMs.
DMs. Yes.
Yeah.
And ask for money in the DMs.
Yeah.
And I think it's
Support
quite
the work.
profitable and sketchy AF.
Yeah.
And this whole story, if you want to say what happens, like why they shut down their company, it's
Well, first of all, the bot's name was Iris Winters, which I love, which was named by Claude, which we talked about in the
Yes.
last
Yes.
podcast. But when the owners looked at the conversations, it was like, oh, whoa. Like, yeah, there was like career changes and should I buy this car or whatever. But there was also like, I'm losing my house or, like horrific things.
I'm
Societal
having
things.
feelings of unaliving myself. Yes.
Really
Yes.
like serious mental health needs a
Yes.
professional now that was happening in Instagram DMs to some bot. And it just shows you how people are very, very comfortable, talking to a robot, which I guess no judgment. Like there's
Yeah.
like no judgment from me, but also like, maybe you open up because there's no human on the other end. But it's like they just didn't expect the severity of these convos. So,
Yeah. Well, so they shut it down. And I mean, I think that there was also like they were happy to realize that for the very extreme emotional psychological issues that the AI was, which I think was using ChatGPT, it was like plugged into the API for ChatGPT. It was suggesting like hotlines and, like it was suggesting to speak to medical professionals and things like that. But I mean, it just goes to show like when you are working in this industry, when you are you set yourself up as a healer, like as you tell people that you're going to help them, give them life advice, coach them, heal them, whatever, it raises real ethical and potentially legal questions about what responsibility you have. And so this is one of those examples of AI possibly kind of going bad, where you don't have, like, you're running a business and you have, you're not really seeing what's going on behind the scenes, especially not in real time. And you're plugging it into some AI that you didn't make, some tool, some language model.
Yeah.
And who knows what the output is. And
Yeah.
people, for whatever reason, are trusting this fortune teller / tarot card reader / astrologer. There's a bunch of examples of these to get life advice from. And like, at what point is there an obligation to have a human there Who knows?
And like kudos to the owners who shut it
Yeah.
down, right? Like
Yeah.
that they recognize that this was like a runaway train
Yeah.
and oh my God, we're not equipped to deal with this. So I do want to say like
Yes.
good
Yes.
for them to
Yes.
recognize that and not just capitalize on whatever dollars they're taking in, when asking for monetary support. Like that's good behavior. That's responsible, right?
But I think the bigger story is that like they're the one, they're one example of of people who made the decision that way when I suspect there are
So many don't.
100
Yeah.
or 1,000
Yeah, for sure.
others that are not doing that. And I just think it
Yeah.
raises real
Yeah. Absolutely.
questions about
Absolutely.
ethics.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, 100%.
Scary
Okay,
stuff.
scary. So we'll link to that article if you want to read the whole story.
Hmm.
Um, our third story in the
Sound effect. Sound
coming
effect.
third story is fake doctors. Well, this
Okay.
isn't really, that's a little bit of it's not exactly the right term, but it worked with our theme.
Yeah, well, it's like AI. So it's AI doctor. So Sandy, you sent me this story. I think it was a New York Times story from
Yeah, New York Times.
a few weeks ago, and it was basically about a patient, I think in Seattle, that was sent home, sent to hospice or something, like told there's no hope. They had some very rare
Blood disorder.
disease, yes, and they were told like there's nothing else that we can do, and were kind of sent home, sent on their way to get their affairs in order. And it was the
Mhm.
girlfriend of the patient reached
Mhm.
out to some kind of expert
In
who
Philadelphia.
in
Yeah.
Philadelphia, who then plugged this case into an AI,
Yeah.
and then the AI spit out a protocol of repurposed drugs, which
Yeah.
none of the Seattle doctors had suggested. And the
And
person tried it because
fine.
they had nothing to
Yep.
lose.
Yep. The title of this article is called Doctors Told Him He Was Going to Die, Then AI Saved His Life. And I was like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Right. And so I think this is so interesting on multiple levels. First, like the fact that this doctor in Philadelphia who's doing this work and is using this AI model is looking at all the existing drugs
Mhm.
and drug
Mhm.
combinations and what they can potentially do instead of, big pharma trying to like
Mhm.
let's figure this out and make a bazillion dollars on a new drug with
Mhm.
patents and so on. Like this is like repurposing what medications we already know about and how they
Mhm.
work. That is just fascinating use of
Mhm.
AI to me.
Mhm.
And then this doctor, he had I forget what he had some issue as well, and he built this for himself,
Mhm.
and he
Mhm.
solved his own health problems. I can't remember what exactly his issue was,
Mhm.
and that's why he started doing this. And I
Yeah.
just like this is the coolest use for AI in my
Yeah.
mind.
Yes. Yeah. And then now the patient is in remission, right? I think,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
right.
like
Yep.
at the time of
Yep.
that story, he was in remission. And so, I mean, that's somebody who was given, I think, 4 weeks to live or something a year
Yeah.
ago, and now is in remission and maybe healed. Who knows? But I mean, that is the power of these tools. Like you hear the story of like the fake fortune teller, and then hear the story of like the repurposed drug AI tool with the doctor manning it. And it's like, that's why putting something in the category of like good or evil doesn't really work. Like
Right.
the real world and the real human experience is shades of gray. And so I just think that that's phenomenal. And I'm sure that that doctor has gotten blowback for using
Oh, I'm
tools like this
sure. I'm
too, right? Like
sure.
I'm sure it's very controversial.
But what's interesting, I just have the article in front of me, and this caught my eye that more than 90% of rare diseases have no approved treatments.
Mm.
And the big pharma is not going to go look for something because they are so rare. They're not going to make enough money on
Mhm.
it, right? This is
Mhm.
not, it's not worth their
Mhm.
time. So
Especially not to how to use repurposed drugs, which
well,
they
no,
don't
no,
make
no, like
any
to
money
start a
from.
no, right. They're not
Yeah.
gonna make a new drug, and they're
Yeah.
certainly not gonna
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
this. That is not
Yeah.
their business. But what's this idea of drug repurposing, I mean, I just think it's so cool. And so this guy has this tool
Yeah.
and
No, it's
helping
so cool.
yeah.
And doctors are allowed in the United States, at least, to prescribe off label in most instances. Like we saw that
Mhm.
kind of get
Yeah.
smashed to smithereens in COVID. But I mean, that is like that this is an example of where a new technology sort of turns an old industry on its head, right?
Yeah.
Because before, where it was harder to unearth the benefits of repurposing drugs for different conditions, like
Hmm.
now with the use of artificial intelligence, like I think it can be a less risky process to do that.
Yeah.
And like these were things that you otherwise wouldn't be able to get research funding for because there's no economic incentive, especially if the drugs are out of patent. So
Yeah.
this like really kind of turns it on its head. So it'll be interesting to see, like, does a tool like this end up being what's heavily monetized? And like,
Yeah.
okay, if you want to run a study on how to use, how to solve XYZ with repurposed medication, like it's at that point of running the study through the AI where the money making happens,
Hmm.
because the
Hmm.
money making is not going to happen by prescribing those drugs.
Right.
So where does the economic engine take place, and how do we solve for that
Yeah.
problem?
I just want to share another story, which I thought was so cool and totally up your alley. They had a client that was 19 years old and had chronic vomiting,
Mm,
and nothing would settle. And so they ran this through the AI model, like give
mhm,
us every and all option for vomiting, stop vomiting. And what came up at the top of the list was inhaling isopropyl alcohol through
mm,
the nose,
mm,
like old school medicine.
mhm, mhm,
And
mhm,
it worked, right?
mhm.
And I just want to have my hands on this tool. I want to play with it,
I
right? Like
know,
it's just
seriously.
anyway, I think it's great. We'll definitely link to this because
Mhm.
I don't know, I don't know how you access this work if you have somebody in your life that has chronic or not chronic, but
Rare.
rare disease or condition or something, but it's
Mhm.
worth keeping your eye on because I don't know, it makes me so happy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an example of goodness in the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, that is our variety show.
Yes, variety show first episode. Let us know what you think of this. Let us know if you find an interesting story or topic that you would like for us to
Yeah.
discuss and banter about on the show going forward and share with our audience and our listeners. And we will see you next time.
Thanks, Jenny. Bye, everyone.